At 89, Julie Andrews remains a beloved icon known for her grace, charm, and unforgettable performances. But even the most elegant stars have their limits. After decades in the spotlight, she's finally opening up about the co-stars who tested her patience. 5 actors she simply couldn't stand working with. To understand Julie's experiences with these co-stars, let's first look at her background, which shaped her approach to her craft. Born Julia Elizabeth Wells on October 1, 1935, in Walton-on-Thames, England, Julie grew up in a world far removed from Hollywood glamour. Her parents, Barbara and Ted Wells, separated during World War II, and Julie was raised primarily by her mother and stepfather, both vaudeville performers. By age 10, she was performing in music halls, showcasing her remarkable 4-octave voice. At 13, she sang for King George VI at a Royal Command performance, becoming the youngest person ever to do so. Her childhood wasn't easy. Her family relied on her earnings, and her stepfather's alcoholism added strain, as detailed in her 2008 memoir, Home, a memoir of my early years. This early responsibility instilled a strong work ethic and a get-on-with-it attitude, which Julie carried into her career. Her big break came at 18 with her Broadway debut in The Boyfriend in 1954, a light-hearted musical that showcased her vocal prowess and charm. 2 years later, she landed the role of Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady, opposite Rex Harrison, catapulting her to stardom. The musical, written by Alan J. Lerner and Frederick Lowe, ran for over 2,700 performances and became a cultural phenomenon. Julie's performance earned her a Tony nomination and made her a Broadway darling. But transitioning to film wasn't seamless, and some of her on-set relationships proved challenging. Let's dive into the first co-star on our list, where the tension stemmed from a famous casting decision rather than direct collaboration. Number 5. Audrey Hepburn. Our first co-star is Audrey Hepburn, though this is a unique case because Julie Andrews and Audrey never shared a set. The tension here revolves around the 1964 film adaptation of My Fair Lady. Julie had originated the role of Eliza Doolittle on Broadway, delivering a performance that critics and audiences adored. Her portrayal of the Cockney flower girl transformed into a refined lady was nuanced, heartfelt, and vocally stunning. Naturally, many expected her to reprise the role in the film, directed by George Cukor and produced by Warner Brothers. But studio head Jack Warner had other plans. He believed Julie, then primarily a stage actress, lacked the star power to carry a big-budget film. Instead, he cast Audrey Hepburn, a proven box office draw known for Roman Holiday and Breakfast at Tiffany's. This decision was a gut punch for Julie, however, faced her own challenges. While she was a gifted actress with undeniable charisma, she wasn't a trained singer, and her vocals were dubbed by Marni Nixon, a talented soprano who also dubbed Natalie Wood in West Side Story. This sparked controversy, as fans of the Broadway production felt Julie had been unfairly snubbed. The decision was widely covered in the press, with outlets like Variety in 1963 reporting on the casting debate and fan backlash. The tension between Julie and Audrey wasn't personal. They never publicly spoke ill of each other, but professional rivalry simmered. Julie's disappointment was compounded when Audrey didn't receive an Oscar nomination for My Fair Lady, despite the film winning 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Meanwhile, Julie won Best Actress for Mary Poppins at the 1965 Oscars. In her Golden Globe acceptance speech for Mary Poppins, Julie famously thanked Jack Warner, a witty jab that hinted at her lingering hurt. In a 2015 Vanity Fair interview, Julie praised Audrey's elegance, but admitted the casting decision was a blow. Biographies like Julie Andrews, an intimate biography by Richard Sterling, 2007, suggest Julie felt overshadowed by Audrey's Hollywood status, even though she respected her talent. Audrey, for her part, was reportedly uneasy about taking the role. In a 1964 New York Times interview, she expressed admiration for Julie's stage performance and said she felt terribly sorry for any hurt caused. The two women met years later and were cordial, but the My Fair Lady saga created a professional wedge. This makes Audrey Hepburn the first co-star on our list, not because of direct conflict, but due to the emotional and professional impact of the casting decision on Julie's career. Number 4. Christopher Plummer. Next up is Christopher Plummer, Julie Andrews' iconic co-star in the 1965 cinematic masterpiece, The Sound of Music. Directed by Robert Wise and adapted from the Rodgers and Hammerstein Broadway musical, the film became a cultural juggernaut. It wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. Adjusted for inflation, The Sound of Music grossed over $1 billion worldwide and won 5 Academy Awards, including the coveted Best Picture. For many, it remains one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Julie Andrews portrayed Maria, the spirited novice nun-turned-governess who brings joy and music into the lives of the Von Trapp family. Opposite her was Christopher Plummer, playing the stern and emotionally distant Captain Georg von Trapp, a widower and father of 7 children. Their transformation from stiff formalities to heartfelt connection is central to the film's enduring emotional pull. Scenes like the graceful Ländler dance in the gazebo and their duet Something Good still melt hearts decades later. On screen, their chemistry was undeniable. There was a tenderness, a slow-burn tension that captivated audiences. But off-screen, the relationship between Julie and Plummer was far more nuanced, marked by admiration, a touch of romantic tension, and occasional emotional distance. It was a connection rooted in mutual respect and subtle longing, but occasionally strained by personal circumstances and artistic differences. In a 2015 interview with ABC News, Julie confessed that she had a crush on Plummer during filming, calling him devastatingly handsome. It wasn't hard to see why. With his chiseled features, commanding presence, and deep baritone voice, Plummer had all the makings of a classic leading man. Julie was in her late 20s, married at the time to set designer Tony Walton, with whom she was experiencing a rocky relationship. Meanwhile, Plummer was heading toward a divorce from actress Tammy Grimes. In separate interviews, both admitted there was a real connection. In a candid 2010 Boston Globe conversation, Plummer said, "We should have had a massive, glorious affair. But real-life complications got in the way." Despite their closeness, their dynamic on set wasn't always smooth. One of the main points of contention stemmed from their very different attitudes toward the film itself. Julie Andrews fully embraced the role of Maria. She saw the value in the film's optimism and innocence. She threw herself into the part with enthusiasm, connecting deeply with the child actors, spending off-camera time with them, and even enduring physically demanding scenes, like the famous opening where she's twirling in a meadow while a helicopter nearly knocks her down repeatedly. Christopher Plummer, however, was less enchanted with the project. In fact, he famously disliked The Sound of Music. He often described it in less than flattering terms. In multiple interviews over the years, including a 2011 feature with The Hollywood Reporter, he called the movie saccharine and even nicknamed it The Sound of Mucus. For Plummer, the role of Captain Von Trapp felt stiff, rigid, and lacking in depth. He longed for more complex material. Though he respected the technical brilliance of the production and the talent involved, he found the film's relentlessly wholesome tone a bit too much. This difference in outlook created a subtle but palpable distance between him and Julie during filming. In her 2019 memoir Homework, a memoir of my Hollywood years, Julie described Plummer as somewhat remote during production. She recalled that while she was managing a young child, Emma, and immersing herself in the emotionally demanding role, Plummer often kept to himself. He would disappear after shoots, sometimes to play piano in solitude or retreat to hotel bars for drinks. He wasn't cold, but he was emotionally closed off, at least during that intense filming period. The location shoot in Salzburg, Austria, added its own set of challenges. While the film looks idyllic on screen, the reality was far more grueling. The crew battled unpredictable mountain weather, tight schedules, and logistical nightmares. In one notable incident, Julie had to help rescue Kim Karath, the youngest von Trapp child who played Gretel. During the boat scene where the family falls into the lake, Karath, who couldn't swim, was nearly in danger. Julie, already managing the complexities of her own role, didn't hesitate to act, displaying the kind of maternal care she was bringing to Maria on screen. Julie's rapport with the children was especially strong. She spent time with them on and off the set, offering guidance, playing games, and even helping them rehearse lines. To them, she wasn't just the star, she was almost like a second mother. This sense of warmth and community stood in contrast to Plummer's more withdrawn posture. While he later expressed fondness for the children, during filming he preferred to keep some emotional distance, a choice that some saw as part of his method. Despite these contrasting approaches, the friendship between Julie and Plummer endured long after the film wrapped. Over the years, they would reunite on various occasions, including their appearance together in a 1989 TV production of On Golden Pond. Their bond deepened with age, shifting from that early flirtatious tension to a more familial, enduring connection. Plummer later spoke warmly of Julie, calling her a consummate professional and an extraordinary human being. Julie, too, spoke with affection, referring to him as a dear friend she cherished. Still, the behind-the-scenes tensions and mismatched emotional investment during The Sound of Music years made their working relationship complicated. Plummer's critical view of the film contrasted so sharply with Julie's wholehearted embrace of its message that it created a subtle barrier, particularly during the emotionally intense scenes that required real vulnerability from both actors. Plummer pulled back, while Julie leaned in. When Plummer passed away in 2021, Julie Andrews publicly mourned him. In a statement, she said, "I treasure the memories of our work together and all the humor and fun we shared through the years. It was a testament to the deep affection and respect that survived long after their differing experiences on set. Time, it seems, softened many of the edges." Looking back, Christopher Plummer remains one of the most significant figures in Julie's early Hollywood career, a brilliant actor, a complicated co-star, and a lifelong friend. But the contrast in their attitudes, the missed opportunity for romance, and the emotional gaps they navigated during filming make him a particularly fascinating and complex entry on this list. While The Sound of Music became a defining milestone in Julie Andrews' life and career, Christopher Plummer's relationship to it was more ambivalent. He never denied the impact it had on his fame, nor the affection fans held for the character he brought to life. But he always kept it at arm's length. That emotional distance created a unique tension between him and Julie, one that, paradoxically, may have fueled the very chemistry that made their on-screen relationship so compelling. Their story is not one of scandal or feud, but of missed chances, artistic conflict, and enduring connection. A story where love, in some form, was always hovering in the background, but never quite took center stage. Number 3. Paul Newman. Our third co-star is Paul Newman, who starred opposite Julie in Alfred Hitchcock's 1966 thriller Torn Curtain. After the massive success of Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music, Julie was eager to break out of her wholesome image and tackle more dramatic roles. Torn Curtain, a Cold War espionage thriller, seemed like the perfect opportunity. Julie played Sarah Sherman, the fiancée of a scientist, Newman, who defects to East Germany, or so it seems. Working with Hitchcock, a cinematic legend, and Newman, a Hollywood icon known for Cool Hand Luke and The Hustler, was a coup for Julie. But the set was far from harmonious. According to a 2025 PBS documentary, Julie Andrews Forever, Hitchcock treated Julie as mere eye candy, focusing his attention on Newman's character, Michael Armstrong. This frustrated Julie, who felt her role was underdeveloped and didn't allow her to showcase her range. In Homework, she reflects on the experience as a learning opportunity, but admits it was frustrating to be sidelined. Newman, a method actor known for his intense preparation, reportedly clashed with Julie's more disciplined, stage-trained approach. Sources from the set, cited in Julie Andrews, An Intimate Biography, 2007, describe Newman as professional but distant, focusing on his own performance rather than building chemistry with Julie. The film itself was a disappointment, both critically and commercially. Critics, including Roger Ebert in 1966, noted its convoluted plot and lack of suspense compared to Hitchcock's earlier works. Julie's performance received mixed reviews, with some praising her effort to stretch beyond musicals, while others felt she was miscast. Newman's aloofness didn't help. In a 2021 blog post on The Many Rantings of John, it's noted that Julie spoke warmly of Hitchcock in later interviews, crediting him with teaching her about film acting, but she was less effusive about Newman. The lack of rapport, combined with Hitchcock's dismissive attitude, made Torn Curtain a challenging experience for Julie, placing Newman on our list.
Number 2. Rock Hudson.
The fourth co-star is Rock Hudson, who starred with Julie in the 1970 musical Darling Lily, directed by her husband Blake Edwards. This film was a deeply personal project for Julie and Edwards, who married in 1969. Set during World War I, Darling Lily cast Julie as Lily Smith, a British singer secretly spying for the Germans, who falls in love with an American pilot played by Hudson. The role allowed Julie to blend her musical talents with a more complex, dramatic character, and she threw herself into the project, learning intricate choreography and tackling a morally ambiguous role. But the production was troubled, and Hudson's performance added to the challenges. In Homework, Julie describes the Darling Lily shoot as difficult, noting that Hudson seemed zonked or disengaged on set. Hudson was grappling with personal struggles, including the pressure of concealing his sexuality in an era when it could end his career. According to a 2012 Guardian article ranking Julie's performances, Hudson's lackluster energy contrasted sharply with Julie's commitment, creating an uneven dynamic. The film's tone was inconsistent, blending musical numbers with espionage drama, and critics panned it, with Variety in 1970 calling it overlong and muddled. The commercial failure hit Julie and Edwards hard, straining their marriage and finances. Sources close to the production, as cited in Blake Edwards' A Life by Sam Wasson, 2021, suggest Julie found Hudson's detachment frustrating, especially given the personal stakes of the project. While there was no public feud, Julie remained diplomatic in interviews. The lack of chemistry and Hudson's disengagement made this collaboration one of her least enjoyable. The Guardian notes that audiences struggled to connect with the film, partly due to the lead's mismatched energy, mirroring the on-set tension. Julie Andrews had entered Darling Lily with high hopes. Coming off the tremendous success of The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins, her image was that of the perfect, wholesome woman with a voice that could melt hearts. But both she and Blake Edwards wanted to challenge that image. Darling Lily was meant to be a turning point, a departure from the sweet, family-friendly roles that had defined her. Lily Smith was more layered, sensual, and morally gray. The opportunity to portray such a character was rare in Julie's career at the time, and she wanted to prove she could handle more adult, complex material. Blake Edwards, too, was eager to redefine his filmmaking reputation. Known for his comedy work, especially the Pink Panther series, he envisioned Darling Lily as a sophisticated wartime drama with musical flair, something akin to Cabaret meets Casablanca. He poured his energy into the project, but things began to unravel early in production. Budget overruns, creative disagreements with Paramount and delays plagued the film.
Number 1. Rex Harrison. Finally, we come to Rex Harrison, Julie's co-star in the Broadway production of My Fair Lady from 1956 to 1958. This musical was a defining moment in Julie's career, establishing her as a Broadway star at just 20 years old. Harrison played Professor Henry Higgins, the arrogant linguist who transforms Eliza Doolittle into a refined lady. Their on-stage dynamic was electric, with songs like The Rain in Spain and I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face showcasing their chemistry. But behind the scenes, Harrison's reputation as a difficult personality created challenges. In her memoir, Home, Julie describes Harrison as brilliant but mercurial, noting his tendency to dominate rehearsals and demand perfection. Harrison was known for his ego, often clashing with directors and co-stars, as detailed in Rex Harrison, the first biography by Alexander Walker, 1987. For a young Julie, still navigating her early career, Harrison's domineering attitude was intimidating. She recounts moments when he snapped at cast members or insisted on script changes, which disrupted the collaborative spirit she valued. The show's grueling schedule, 8 performances a week for over 2 years, added to the strain, and Julie, as the family breadwinner, felt immense pressure to perform flawlessly. While Julie learned a great deal from Harrison's stagecraft, their working relationship was tense. The My Fair Lady film snub, where Harrison reprised his role opposite Audrey Hepburn, further stung Julie, though this was more about studio politics than Harrison himself. His challenging demeanor during their Broadway run, combined with the emotional weight of the film casting, makes Harrison the 5th co-star on our list. Now let's step back and put these stories in perspective. Julie Andrews is renowned for her professionalism and kindness, qualities that shine through in her memoirs and interviews. In a 2023 Woman's World interview, she emphasized her philosophy of getting on with it, a mindset rooted in her challenging childhood. The tensions with Hepburn, Plummer, Newman, Hudson, and Harrison weren't about personal animosity, but rather professional frustrations, creative differences, mismatched working styles, or the pressures of high-stakes productions. Hollywood in the 1960s and 1970s was a complex environment, with egos, studio politics, and demanding schedules testing even the most resilient stars. Julie's ability to navigate these challenges speaks to her strength. After the My Fair Lady snub, she channeled her energy into Mary Poppins, winning an Oscar and proving her star power. Her friendship with Plummer endured, despite their Sound of Music tensions, as evidenced by their later collaboration. Working with Newman and Hitchcock in these stories also reflect the broader context of Julie's era. The 1960s were a transitional period in Hollywood, with the decline of the studio system and the rise of new filmmaking styles. Women often faced dismissive attitudes from directors like Hitchcock, who, as the PBS documentary notes, prioritized male leads. Julie's stage-trained approach, rooted in discipline and collaboration, sometimes clashed with the method acting of stars like Newman or the detachment of Hudson. Yet she held her own, delivering performances that resonated with audiences. Julie's personal life added another layer of complexity. During The Sound of Music, she was a young mother, balancing her career with raising her daughter Emma. In Homework, she describes the loneliness of long shoots, exacerbated by co-stars like Plummer who were less engaged. Her childhood as her family's breadwinner instilled a sense of duty, but it also meant she carried immense pressure, which may have made her more sensitive to difficult dynamics. To balance this narrative, let's highlight Julie's positive collaborations. Her friendship with Carol Burnett, for example, was a highlight of her career. In a 2023 People interview,
Carroll described their instant connection in 1961, leading to hit TV specials like Julie and Carroll at Carnegie Hall, 1962. Julie named Carroll godmother to Emma, a testament to their bond. Similarly, her work with Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins was seamless, with their chemistry earning a Grammy for the soundtrack. These partnerships show that while Julie faced challenges, she also built lasting relationships. At 89, Julie Andrews remains active, voicing Lady Whistledown in Bridgerton and co-authoring children's books with Emma Walton Hamilton. Her resilience, especially after losing her singing voice in 1997 due to a botched throat surgery, is inspiring. The tensions with these 5 co-stars were mere footnotes in a remarkable career. As she wrote in Homework, "Thankfully, I was willing to pay my dues and to learn." That mindset carried her through tough shoots and personal challenges, cementing her as a Hollywood legend. So, there you have it. The 5 co-stars Julie Andrews reportedly found challenging: Audrey Hepburn, Christopher Plummer, Paul Newman, Rock Hudson, and Rex Harrison. These stories, grounded in verified sources like Julie's memoirs and credible publications, reveal the complexities of working in Hollywood. What do you think about these dynamics? Were you surprised by any of these tensions? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Hollywood history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.